from the Timber TV studios, this is Timber Talk. Here is Brady Goldman and Sawyer Regan.
Hello and welcome back to Timber Talk. We're back after spring break and we're ready to recap and look ahead at the second half of the spring season. As always, I'm Brady Goldman.
And I'm Sawyer Regan.
We have 2 weeks worth of games to recap, so let's begin with softball. Coming into the week at 2-1, girls softball is looking to blast off against the Rockets on the 13th. Needham has always been a great team in softball and even made the second round last year, but Walpole took care of business. We'll start in the bottom of the first with runners on for Walpole. Audrey Musicant for Needham throws a wild pitch which the catcher can't handle and allows Abby Riley to come home for Walpole, and runners advance, giving the Timberwolves a 1-0 advantage. Then a couple batters later, disaster strikes again for Musicant as the ball gets away from the catcher again, allowing Eva Karakalitis to come home, giving Walpole a 2-0 lead off of 2 wild pitches. We'll now skip to the bottom of the fifth, and Karakalitis rips this ball into deep center field, and Nikki Stanton for Needham cannot come up with it, and Abby Riley is able to round third and come home for the T-Wolves, making it 3-0 Walpole after another defensive mistake from the Rockets. Now just a batter later, Grace Todd comes up to the plate and hits a missile into right center field. Needham drops it again, and Karakalitis scores, increasing Walpole's lead to 4-0. And that would be it for both teams scoring, as Walpole gets the victory by a 4-0 final. Junior Ellie Bolin pitched a complete game for Walpole, allowing 4 hits and 0 runs while amassing 6 strikeouts and just 3 walks. Walpole's record improves to 3-1, but they have to face another tough opponent. That tough opponent would be the Weymouth Wildcats. Despite coming into the game at 2-3, the Wildcats are still a strong Bay State team and one that Walpole had a hard time getting over. We'll start in the bottom of the fourth, where Walpole's down 2-0 with the runner on second, and senior captain Caitlin Baker is able to loop this one into center field for a base hit, which brings home captain Grace Todd from second, cutting Weymouth's lead to 2-1. However, Weymouth would respond quickly as a grounder gets past the infield in the top of the fifth for a base hit, garnering another run for the Cats. Then, after a sac fly gives Weymouth their 4th run, Abby Riley attempts to throw to second, but Sienna Cruiser fails to tag the runner, which causes a run down in the infield, but gives the Wildcats just enough time to score their 5th run, making it 5-1 Weymouth. Then Walpole would get their 3rd run off a bases-loaded walk, and all of a sudden, a once 5-1 lead has now shrunk to just 5-3 for Weymouth. However, Walpole will be denied of any more runs, as despite having Todd on third, Ellie Bolin pops out to the shortstop, makes the catch, ending it in a 5-3 victory for Weymouth. Walpole struggled to produce offense in this one, putting up just 3 runs and 3 hits. They luckily were able to benefit off of 4 Weymouth errors, but in the end it was not enough for the victory, and Walpole drops to 3-2. Despite the tough loss, Walpole was able to beat Oliver Ames over the break 6-3 and improve to 4-2 on the season. The Timberwolves will play Wellesley in Brookline this week.
The baseball team has started off this season on a scorching hot streak. Walpole beat Needham on the 13th, 7-4 via complete game from Landon Lipset and a grand slam from Drew Cantrell. They then took down a very strong Weymouth squad 2-1 with Luca DiGiulio pitching another gem and struck out 6 on 1 earned run. Walpole's only loss of the season so far came to historical powerhouse Severian 6-2 last Monday. Despite the tough loss, the team hit the ground running and got back on track, beating Westwood 7-2 and Bridgewater Rainham 8-3 to tally an 8-1 record through the first half of the season. Walpole will play Wellesley in Brookline this week. As a side note, a huge milestone for the baseball program came last Thursday when former Walpole pitcher Cam Schlittler pitched at Fenway Park for the first time. It was a surreal moment for the 25-year-old, and despite playing for the Yankees, he will always have a special place in Walpole.
Switching to Lax, girls lacrosse, off their dominance from the start of the year, continue to play great. They beat Weymouth on the 14th by a staggering score of 24-4, with 14 players scoring for Walpole in an absolute bloodbath. They then beat Wellesley 18-9, KP 19-6, and then had their biggest scare of the season when Duxbury gave them their biggest challenge yet. But Walpole still secured a gutsy 9-8 victory over the Mighty Dragons. Walpole has now won 22 straight going back to last year, and will look to clean up the competition even more when they face Brookline and Newton North this week.
Similar to the girls, the boys have had an excellent first half to 2026. However, 2 Mondays ago, they suffered their first loss of the year to Bishop Fian 12-4. Despite that, they were able to rattle off 3 consecutive victories to Weymouth, Wellesley, and Needham. They would suffer their second loss by just 1 goal to Duxbury 8-9, but would rally again to beat Severian 9-8 in overtime. Wolpole is now 8-2 and will have 2 more games this week against Brookline and Newton North.
Boys tennis had just 2 games before the break. They battled powerhouse Needham on the 13th and suffered their first loss of the year by a score of 5-0, with none of the matches being particularly close, in fact. Still, they were able to rebound from the first loss and beat Weymouth 5-0 to start the season 5-1. The boys have another long gauntlet of games ahead of them, with matches against Wellesley, CM, Brookline, and KP all this week.
Girls tennis, having not won a game in 2026, similar to the boys, lost 0-5 to Needham. However, they were able to pick up their first win of the season with a 4-1 win over Weymouth, giving Coach Ringler his first win as a head coach. They sadly could not keep the momentum going as they lost 1-4 to Framingham the next day. The girls will have matches against Wellesley, Brookline, and KP this coming week. In track, athletes competed at the Warrior Invitational during break. There were a couple individual medals, and both the boys and girls 4x800 meter relay earned first. The following day, a couple athletes participated in the pentathlon, 2 medaled. Looking towards the future, on Wednesday, they will face Milton and Natick. They have Division III relays this following Sunday.
And that's going to do it for our show this week. As always, I'm Brady Goldman.
And I'm Sawyer Regan.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back next week and break down the initial power rankings for the spring season.